Hello, everybody. Welcome back to CXQA Live. This is our weekly live discussion where we have the opportunity to speak with thought leaders and discuss the importance of the most valuable asset in your contact center, the agent. Here on CXQA Live, we believe that agents with the right tools, training, and connection with your company will be a revenue growth and protection center for your brand. They'll be the best diagnostic tool you have for your business. They'll ensure that your customers stay satisfied and connected. They'll produce more and better work, and they're actually going to want to stay and contribute to the well being of your company. Now, I hope you guys recognize this man over here. And if you don't, please allow me to introduce my good friend here, Philip Bennett. You may have heard the company he works for. It's got a catchy little jingle that I may or may not ask him to sing later.
No,
You're not going to sing today. Okay.
I can't carry a tune in a bucket.
I don't believe that for half a second, Phil.
My son now, he can sing, but I can't.
Come on. All right. Well, then I won't ask you to sing. But hold on. I've got something from Shafiq here. Not sure if it's just me. I can't hear anything. How is our audio? Can everybody hear us other than Shafiq?
I can hear me.
You're coming through on my end as well, Philip.
Sorry about that, Mark.
I can hear and he's got the jingle in his head, so we won't sing the jingle then. But yeah, so Philip has actually been on the show before. I went back and looked in the archives. This was back on August 1st when we were talking about how everything is CX. And
Has it been that long? Wow.
yeah,
Yeah, that's amazing.
You got to get more on a regular schedule here. But we're actually going to be tackling another what might feel initially as a hold hands and just enjoy the warm fuzzies topic, but we're actually going to unpack why this isn't a very warm fuzzy topic. But it is the cost of ingratitude. I figured this would be a perfect topic for you, Phil, not only because, hey, it's November and it's the month of gratitude, National Month of Gratitude, but because when you and I just have kind of these off the cuff conversations, some really, really great stuff is said, mostly by you. I get the privilege of just sitting there and absorbing the knowledge that you share with us. But yeah,
Now you're setting the bar, you know.
I am setting the bar a little bit high here, but Philip, why don't we just go ahead, dive in here? So let's see. The first thing that I want to talk about, since we're on this topic of ingratitude, that's a huge thing, right? When we talk about ingratitude and gratitude, it's kind of hard to define. So I guess from your perspective, Philip, from a leadership perspective, what does ingratitude look like in the contact center?
Okay. So first of all, let me just say thank you for having me on. I really do appreciate it. I'm going to express my gratitude. But you're right with Thanksgiving and coming up. We're all giving thanks for a lot of things. But ingratitude in the call center usually comes across more as indifference. It is the expectation that the employee is going to do something for you because it's their job to do something for you. And the interesting part of that is while they will, it's not as wholeheartedly given as someone who gets the gratitude for what they do for the company. I mean, it just doesn't mean that you necessarily worship everybody that comes to work every day. I mean, that's not exactly what we're talking about in gratitude. But the fact of the matter is, we should all be very appreciative of the fact of what people do around us, and you know, constantly thanking people is one way of doing it. Recognizing people is another. And the funny thing is, a lot of times call centers struggle. What can we do for the employee? What can we do to really help them feel good? And everybody arrives at spending more money, and sometimes that's not possible. Sometimes you don't have it in the budget. The other thing I'd point out is, the same thing sort of kind of goes with our kids. And we spend a lot of times trying to come up with ways to help them understand and appreciate, that we appreciate them without compensating them. You
Mm.
don't want to get into that with your kids. You really don't necessarily want to get into that with your employees. And the truth of the matter is that's really, while the employee will absolutely positively appreciate any money you spend on them, obviously. Um, but at the end of the day, the job satisfaction comes from, being recognized that you've actually done a great job for the company. And, having someone really give you a heartfelt thank you. You did a great job today. Things like that um, really go a long way, and they're not expensive. The only cost is that you have to do it. Um, but it's something that used properly can be very incentivizing. And I say used properly because you can't use it. I mean, it can't be like 100%. Every time you do something, you're thanking people for it. Um, Whether that's appropriate or not, it would then start to become routine and non-special. But you know, i- if you've had a long day, busy, hard work, everybody's done a great job. Just let them know. You know, I this would be the time that I would be putting together normally an email to go out to the agents. Just to thank them for all their effort and hard work and the things that they do. And obviously you can do that around the holidays, but you don't want to forget to do it every other time, other times during the year because it's very, very important. And I mean, it doesn't cost anything. And so, but people really do feel good about themselves when you thank them and you're grateful for the work that they do. And they don't have to do it. That was one of the most interesting things I learned when I first became a manager. The first role I had was working with volunteers. I worked for a fraternal organization that had an all volunteer body, and we had to motivate them to do the job that we were asking them to do. Now, we couldn't compel them to do the job because they were volunteers. There was nothing that we could hold over their heads. And so sometimes it would feel very frustrating, you can't, you know, it would be so great to just tell them what to do and say, it's your job, you got to go do this. But the truth of the matter is what I found when I became a manager of people who actually did work with me or did work for me, um, that the experience I got motivating volunteers, cajoling, using gratitude as a way of motivating people, thanking people, recognizing people, all of those little things. Because in that role, we had no way to financially incentivize anybody. We had to do it in other ways. And what I learned was that was the more valuable lesson in my financial career, or not my financial career, but my career, because yes, you can say to somebody, it's your job, I need you to do that, and they will do it. But if you can get them to voluntarily buy in, they're going to want to do it and help you out. And that makes a huge difference.
So that's an important point that you just made there. You made a lot of important points, but we're going to start with that one because that was the most recent one. It's about buy-in, right?
Right.
When we want to talk about the why should I care, because that's how you started this, was it's about the caring. It's like, why should I care for this? And with a volunteer situation, without that financial compensation, it's like, okay, well, how do I tap into that? Okay, well, then I
Mhm.
need to show gratitude towards my agents, but you also want that to feel very authentic, and you want that to be an actual incentive, right?
Mhm.
So it kind of relates to what your company culture is like what's your company mission, what's your vision, how do you
Mhm.
treat your people. There's a lot of higher level, I think, processing that goes on within an employee, within themselves, right? I always love to think about Sherry Kendall's human beings versus human doings. I've heard her say that a lot because we are humans, right? We are
Right.
human. We feel, we have emotions. It's what we tap into. And a lot of us, admittedly, do bring our emotions into work and we become connected to work in a very important way. it like becomes a part of us. Now, don't get me wrong. I know that there are jobs out there are people out there that have that ability to just disconnect from work entirely and keep that separate. But I think with most of your customer support people, one of the biggest drivers for them to keep doing what they do is because they feel like they're a part of your team, they're a part of your company.
Right.
And like you said, it's completely free to show gratitude to your agents. It doesn't cost a thing. But what does cost a thing, a lot of things, is ingratitude,
Yes.
right? So when we talk about cost, right, we're not just talking about financial. Of course,
Hmm.
everybody knows that. So Philip, kind of help me unpack outside of just people feeling sad because they're not being appreciated. What are some real effects that a business can see if you just have ungrateful leadership?
Well, if you have ungrateful leadership, what it'll lead to is a sense of resentment, a sense that leadership is entitled and that they're not really in touch. Number one, but number two, you're going to have a disengaged employee, and
Mm,
a disengaged employee. There are a lot of studies around employee engagement. A disengaged employee cost you in numerous ways as far as productivity goes. It costs you in terms of teamwork because you won't foster a team environment in that kind of environment. People don't believe at that point that they're working together for a good reason and a common cause. And so they just aren't going to bring 100%. And we've all probably been there in our careers. I'm sure that each one of us has worked for a place where we neither felt appreciated nor did we really want to go every day, but we had to because we needed a paycheck.
mm.
Because it's better than not getting a paycheck in certain ways. And yes, you can go other places and find paychecks, but if you got a lot of bills and you're kind of strapped and you're making a decent living, it's going to be a lot harder to motivate yourself to go look for those things, especially when you're feeling down about yourself. And so you feel stuck and dead end in a dead end position. And all of those things play into a lack of engagement. And then when your customer service person answers the phone, it's not, "Hi, thank you for calling Empire today." It's, "Yeah, what can I do?" Thanks for I mean, they're going to go through the process. They're going to say, "Thank you for calling Empire today. How may I help you?" But that they're just feeding off of that. And so, that is a problem. And it will cost you in the long run big time in productivity, in terms of meeting your goals, and in terms of reaching, your employees' goals as well.
So
Which,
I
if you're really ungrateful, you're not caring about.
right. Now, I can't speak for you, Philip. I can only speak for me and I can only speak from my experience. When I call any business and I
Hmm.
get to the contact center, or even if I get to the front desk, receptionist, whatever, any business doesn't matter, and the person on the other end is disengaged,
Hmm.
for me as a customer, now I feel a little bit disengaged. Like, wait,
Yep.
if this is the way this person is feeling, what does that say about the company? Right?
Right.
How is this person being treated? Maybe they're just having a bad day. But if this continues to be like a recurring thing where I keep calling this company and I just hear like these agents that are just beat down, for me as a customer, I probably don't want to do business with you because
Right.
if this is the way that you treat your employees, how are you going to treat me? How do you view me? And I
Right.
think since, CXQA Live, we do talk about the customer experience. When you give your agents a less than stellar experience, how
Hmm.
can you expect to give customers something that's even remotely good,
Right.
right? I mean, am I alone in that? Do you kind of feel the same way whenever you call and deal with somebody that's disengaged? It kind of pulls you out of it too?
Oh, absolutely. There's no question about it. I mean, and a lot of times you really can hear it. It comes through loud and clear. um and the problem there is if the employee's not engaged, you're not going to get the, really enthusiastic. Is there anything else I can help you with? They might address your main problem, but they're not really going to be engaged in actually making it a good experience for, the customer when they call in. The funny thing is you can actually use that to your advantage when you call a company.
I do appreciate Andrea's comment here, saying that we are dropping some truth bombs. Yeah, that is one thing that I do love about this show. One of the things that I'm very grateful for.
A lot of times when we call in to a call center, um, we're angry,
Mhm.
and we want something taken care of, because generally speaking, people don't call centers to say, hey, you guys are doing a great job, thank you very much for everything you do, love you, bye. Nobody does that. Although I will say this, I actually got an SMS that said basically that same thing. Everything went great, my installation was wonderful, thank you so much. I was actually blown away, because people really don't normally take the time to say things like that, and it's wonderful feedback when you actually do hear it. So sometimes it happens, but it's very, very rare. But so we call in because we're upset, we're angry about something, and we want something. But what happens is we tend to unload on the agent. Well, now that puts the agent in a defensive position. But if
Mhm.
you say to them, look, I know it's not you. I really appreciate everything you're doing for me. This is something that the company screwed up. It's not your fault, but hopefully we can get to some sort of arrangement. Now you've turned the entire conversation right around, because now it's not personal to them. You understand that they're there to try and help. Yes, we are upset. Yes, we are upset with the company, but we are not upset with you. I'm not upset with you. I'm upset with the company. They did something wrong. I understand that your job is to take care of that and help me with that. And I apologize for venting on you. That wasn't my goal. But it is something that I want taken care of. And, the funny thing is, the minute that you turn that, I find that it absolutely will take, somebody who is kind of got their back up and on the defensive. Now they relax, and now they want to find a way to help you. And it's funny how much further you'll get with people who want to help you. A lot of times customer service agents have wide latitude in the things that they can do. They can just help you, or they can go that extra mile and make you, really turn you around. And while we want all of our customer service agents to try and go that extra mile for customers, there are sometimes in their interactions places where they just aren't going to get there. But the truth of the matter is, no matter what call they've just come off of, if you can, you know, give them some gratitude that you really do appreciate what they're doing for you, even as a customer, it's going to turn things around. And if it works that well as a customer calling in, how much better is it going to work, when I'm the person that knows you, I work with you, that sort of thing. And I reach out and I say, thank you for what you've done. And it's not even reaching out, it's truly appreciating the
Mm.
fact that they don't actually have to come to work for you today. They could go to work for somebody else. And we really should appreciate the fact that they're willing to come to work and spend time with us, because I think it's really, really important to do that.
So I love this. We kind of spun this in a way I didn't expect. We got to
Sorry
talk.
about that.
No, 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 no. Please don't ever be sorry about that. That's amazing. I love when this happens. I love when we have like a plan and then we kind of spin into something else. Like that's the beauty one of doing these shows live.
Mm,
Um, but no, I love that we were also able to kind of focus a little bit in on like customer gratitude towards an agent. That can completely switch the situation around. Now, something that popped into my head when we were talking about that is there's something a little dangerous about that in the sense that if the customer calls and acknowledges like, hey, it's the company's fault, not yours, you don't want the agent to be like, okay, now I'm team customer and I'm against the company. And I know
right.
that doesn't happen except in like super rare instances, but that's kind of what I want to talk about next is Here we are talking about ingratitude versus gratitude. But let's say that there's somebody out there who's realizing, I haven't been that grateful for my agents. One of my biggest concerns is, though, if I want to show gratitude to my agents, how can I do that genuinely? Like, how
Hmm.
how can I practice being grateful for my agents without it coming off as just me saying, "Hey, I should be grateful for my agents," not "I am grateful for my agents." How
Right.
how can you do that from a leadership standpoint?
Yeah, I think you have to kind of that's almost a mindset you have to get into. I mean,
Mm.
you have to get into the idea that, you know, we need to appreciate the agents who are working for us. I mean, I can take this to the ultimate level. If they weren't doing it, it's probably going to be you doing it. So, I mean, that's one thing to you might want to be grateful for. But more importantly than that, I mean, if you can get yourself in the mindset, then you find little ways that you can do things. One of the big things when we were always in person at the call center, around holidays, we would encourage everybody to decorate their desk. And the funny thing is, in our call center, and this doesn't happen in every call center, um, but in Empire's call center, agents were always encouraged to decorate their desks. And some call centers, the desk is interchangeable. And so that makes it a little harder. I don't know if you've ever been to a call center where you weren't actually assigned a permanent desk and that somebody might share that desk with you, what on a different shift. At Empire, everybody had their desk, and so they could decorate it any way they wanted. And the interesting thing is that helps as well because the agents will decorate their desk with the things that they're interested in. So you know who you're dealing with and who you're talking to. If there's pictures of family, you know that they're very interested in their families, and that helps. When you want to be grateful and make a connection. If they decorate with Star Wars posters, they're probably into science fiction. You got a connection there. Or Lord of the Rings, whatever it is. People's personalities then come out. And once we have personal connections, once we have personalities, now they're not nameless, faceless people that you take for granted. Now you've connected with them, and it helps that if you participate as well. I mentioned to you in one of our conversations that after we went public at Options Express for Halloween, I bought myself a full-on Darth Vader costume, and I love that costume. Now it's hot as heck, and it is it's uncomfortable and it's difficult to put on, but it is the coolest costume you've ever put on in your entire life. And so many of the people in the call center are geeks. We love science fiction, a lot of us in the call center. And so it started on Halloween. I would put on the costume and then I would go around and hand out candy to the agents. It was a little thing, and it wasn't much, but it was here's a manager, here's someone who's way up there, doing something goofy like putting on a costume like this, and which by the way is actually kind of cool, and willing to take time to walk around to 200 people and say something nice to each one of them, let them take a picture with you, and hand out some candy or a treat or something like that, just to try and make their day better. And the other thing I do is I always look for ways that I can make their jobs easier. So if
Hmm.
I can come up with technologies that are going to make my agents' lives easier, those are technologies that I want to find and bring in, because if I can make their jobs easier and better, it's going to be easier for them to stay. But if I wasn't grateful for them, I wouldn't care about that and I wouldn't go looking for those things. Maybe I might look for something that might seem to move the needle, but I want to find it because I want to make the agent's life easier and make it easier for them to do their job. It's hard enough to do as it is. There are very few jobs in the world where you are literally chained to a desk by a leash, and you can only get up when we give you permission to get up, when you're on break or on lunch. Otherwise, you are connected, and I'm on a wireless, but you're connected by a wired tether from your headset to your desk or your computer. And people don't think that way. I mean, we used to talk about dress codes in the call center, and some people, well, you act the way you feel. You dress If you dress for success, you will project that on the call. I'm thinking, look, you're spending 8 hours a day tethered to your desk. I want you to be comfortable. And if dressing up makes you feel comfortable and project your best, by all means do that. Now, I don't want you work inappropriate, but if jeans and a t-shirt makes you feel the most comfortable, that's fine with me too. No one sees you on a call, so that doesn't matter. And just be yourself and be comfortable, and it will work out. So
I love this. I want to go back to what you said. Is I want to make my agents' jobs easier, and you didn't say that so you could say because then it makes my job easier, right? I made their
oh
job
no,
makes my job easier, and it does. But I love that you want to do it because you actually care about your team. You care about
right,
your team enough to do something as little as just dress up in a Darth Vader costume and go around and hand out candy. But I think that's a lot of the stuff that people like take for granted. Honestly,
right.
like
Yeah, and it's the fun stuff. I mean, you can
yeah,
have fun,
yeah.
and it's not expensive. Well, the Darth Vader costume might have been, but I've used that many, 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 many times, and so that's not. Um, I don't factor that cost in.
Right.
The cost to me is how sweaty I'm going to get.
The the value that you bring out of it, right? Like
Absolutely
that's a priceless costume now, right? Because
right.
you've built this culture, you've built this trust with your team. Your agents know that you're grateful for them. So I think it's well worth probably, I'm guessing the couple hundred that you spent on that Darth
Hmm.
Vader costume.
Oh yeah. Oh, well worth it. Yeah. No
Professional
question.
quality.
Yeah.
Well, we are getting to the top of the hour here, and we do want to be respectful of everybody's time. However, if you do have the time to hang out afterwards, I know Philip and I are going to be at the discussion table. As long as Philip, everything's covered on
Yep.
your end.
Everything's fine.
Cool. So, yep, we'll be
I
at the
just
discussion.
found out that the part that broke, which was just replaced a month ago, is not under warranty.
Oh boy, maybe we'll talk about that at the discussion table. We'll see.
Isn't
But
isn't that always fun?
you never know what can happen. But to those of you
Hey,
who are
listen,
us,
butter side down. It's always going to be that way.
water side down is always the way the toast falls. Amen to that. But to those of you who are leaving us now, thank you so much for being here. We're very grateful for you. Philip, always so grateful to have you on the show.
It's
Um,
terrific to always to the knowledge that I get, talking to you, and your audience is wonderful, because these are things that we so desperately need to share. It's so hard to learn all of this, and I appreciate people like you. So thank you.
well, we appreciate you, and I'm sure everybody else does too. But in the meantime, we're going to go ahead and head over to that discussion table. We hope you guys have a fantastic Tuesday. Go make a difference in the world today. And for those of you who are celebrating this week, have a fantastic Thanksgiving. We'll see you
Happy
next week.
Thanksgiving, everyone.
Bye, guys.